Good day. The following presentation is for the examination-based contact class of 2018. The subject Human Rights in Policing for your diploma in policing. The scope for this presentation would be my introduction, the aims of the contact class, why do we have the contact class, structure of the examination, continuous assessment calculation marks, examination preparation and tips, the course outline, what is it that you need to study, and concluding thereof. My name is George Jacob. I'm the bearer of a BTech degree in forensic investigation obtained with UNISA. My relevant experience in policing goes back, can be summed up in 25 years, for which I have been in different portfolios. You are more than welcome to look at the first few slides that explains what portfolios I have been bearing. I'm currently with the Bank of Namibia, FIC. Yes. The aims of this contact class is to prepare you for the examination due in 2018, to enable you to do possibly your best chance to do well, to make sure that you do well, discuss the examination structure, explain continuous assessment and calculation of the marks, and give you basic tips on your examination, and then probably also the assignments. Your structure of the assignment would be 4 main questions with sub-questions. You may be required to answer one of 2 questions. In example, choose between 4.1 or choose between 4.1 and 4.2. The total points for the exam would be 120. Questions are from the study guide provided by IOL, so unless you are required to give your input, those answers should be coming from the guide. You may be expected to discuss, outline, define, list, and analyze or name facts. Question marks allocated are ranging between 3 to 25 marks in the questions and sub-questions. The inclusion of this continuous assessment and calculation of marks in this presentation is to ensure that you as a student take the examination marks seriously and align your studies accordingly. The exam would be for 2.5 hours, 2 hours 30 minutes. It's a written examination of 120 marks. Now, in order to explain to you the assessment and the calculation of your mark, the final pass mark of 50% is required, and it is calculated by 60% of the examination mark and 40% of the continuous assessment mark. A sub-minimum of 50% must be attained in the examination. So in order for you to pass, you need to have 50. For example, if your assessment mark is 50, your examination mark is 50, it will be calculated as follows. So 40% of 50 equals 20, which is calculated at 50 times 40 divided by 100. The same goes for the 60% of your examination mark, which is 50, equals 30. It is also calculated at 50 times 60 divided by 100. And that gives you a final mark of 50. The setting and marking of the examination papers are moderated. In the exam, please write legibly and very clear. Don't let me guess what you have actually written. Structure your answer through headings and numbers and a logical sequence. Please, this remains a huge challenge. If you are giving me answers on a question, try to structure them through headings and numbering, and try to keep the flow of your answer in a logical sequence. Make sure that your student number and the relevant details requested are written on the answer sheet. Write in blue or black ink. Cheating in an exam will result in you being failed. So, and serious steps may be taken. Also refrain or avoid dumping relevant and irrelevant facts at the same time, as you may lose valuable points. Please make sure that you give me more relevant facts than dumping irrelevant facts. This remains a critical aspect. Students do not or think that they can write whatever they think is the answer and then expect a mark for it. You may be surprised that you will lose a lot of points. During the examination, there will be a lot of instructions which may include or which will include no authorized material, notes, technical devices may be brought into you or maybe in your possession when you go into the exam hall. If you are responsible for any irregularities during the exam, the head of examination or invigilator will collect your answering script and evidence. You will be requested to write an explanation. The answering script, evidence and declaration will be submitted to the irregularity committee for verification. No exam marks will be allocated to you or will count towards your examination. You will be suspended for 12 months or 2 consecutive examinations from IOL. It is an infringement of the IOL examination regulations for you to assist other students. Refrain or please do not do that. Cell phones must be switched off. So it is advisable that you put your cell phone, switch it off or put it at home or leave it at home or wherever you may, because by mistake you may bring it into the hall, the examination venue, and it may disturb others. You may not leave the examination room during the first 30 minutes or the last 15 minutes. If you arrive late, 30 minutes late, you will be recorded as no turn up. The answering paper and the question paper remains the property of IOL, so please do not remove them, do not tear out papers from it. Should you need additional writing paper, you can ask the invigilator, and please ensure that your answers are on the examination answering document and not anywhere else, because whatever is anywhere else may not be considered for marking. Rough work may be done in the question paper or answering paper. This you can get from the invigilator. You must sign the checklist before you leave the examination room. Smoking and eating in the exam rooms are prohibited. Please do not dive into starting writing your answers during the exam. Go through them, make sure that you do understand what the question is, because there may be 2 questions similar and you may just write the wrong answer at the wrong place. For questions with 20 marks, write at least 1.5 pages and more, not half a page for 20 marks. Students fail to score good marks in examination due to this practice. Yes, if you are asked 20, if the question has got 20 marks allocated, please try to give me 20 answers or 20 mark answer that has got 20 marks, because you can't expect to give me 10 marks and then expect to get 20. Now, going into the course outline, what is expected that you need to know? For human rights and international law, you need to study and get acquainted with what are human rights, examples of human rights. In example, right to live, nationality, education, health, etc. Who makes international human rights laws, monitoring of human rights. What are the international human rights? The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, various human rights conventions Namibia ratified, the UN Code of Conduct for law enforcement officials, human rights versus law and order in Namibia, how can respect for human rights assist the police, different human rights violations should be concerned about. The second one, human rights policing and the Namibian constitution. Human rights and policing, how can the Namibian police force help with human rights, protection of respect for human rights by police, the role of training in human rights protection. Namibian police force contributing towards human rights training. In example, what are the ethics of professional conduct, the importance of Namibian constitution, the repeal of amendment of admission of the Namibian constitution, human rights in the Namibian constitution, for example, the office of the ombudsman, the legal assistance center. On 3, policing and administration of justice. What is policing? What is the purpose of policing? The principles of policing, the history of policing in Namibia prior to independence, during the German era, South African era, etc. The establishment of the Namibian police force, what are its functions, the administration of justice, the judiciary, court, removal of judges, judicial commission. 4, generation of fundamental human rights. What are fundamental human rights? What are generations of human rights as part of the classification of rights? The development towards an international bill of rights, fundamental human rights in Namibia. And 5, the cultural diversity, human rights, and universality of human rights. What is cultural diversity? What is universality of human rights? Cultural diversity opposed to human rights, and universality and cultural relativism, the common standards and conflicting with different cultures. Now, it is important for you to know these different aspects in these different categories. If you don't understand one or other, please, you're more than welcome to contact me. In conclusion, I would like to provide you with the following tips. 1 fact, 1 mark. Please remember, if you provide me with 1 fact, I need to give you 1 mark. If you don't provide me with any, if you provide me with 10 facts instead of 20, I'll give you 10 marks. Framework of exam investigation requires that you know and understand all concepts and tactics. Number your facts or use bullet points. Avoid numbering relevant and irrelevant facts that has been discussed. Follow the instructions closely. That has also been discussed. Use your best handwriting. Short questions may be included. And I'm wishing you the best with your assignment and exam preparations.